Greetings, blessed love, Dharma Shakti here with another episode of Keeping Yoga Spiritual. I wanted to share another wonderful story from one of my favorite books, The Journey Home by Radhanath Swami. My sweet, sweet dear teacher, Radhanath Swami, this great book about bhakti and the essence of bhakti. And so in Keeping Yoga Spiritual episode 5, I shared a story about a sage named Parashara. And so you can go back and reference that video if you like, about him as a young boy and his wisdom that he extolled. And so this is a story later on in the future about Parashara as a guru, as a teacher to many students. And this story is about, the question, really the essence of the story is, what qualities do I need before I am able to realize who I am? And we all really want to know ourselves, but what qualities do we need to embody within ourselves to be able to arrive at that place, to achieve that awareness, to really know ourselves, right? Like if we're super egoic and puffed up, can we really know ourselves? If we're really depressed all the time, can we really know ourselves, right? Can we really be self-realized when we're in these particular qualitative states, right? If we're always a negative person, if our qualities that we're pessimistic, can we become self-realized? Can we really know who we are? And so this is a story about a student approaching Parashara with this question: what qualities do I need to have in order to be able, right, to realize who I am? His question specifically says, what qualities do I need before I am able to realize who I am? Right? If we're always throwing, temper tantrums as adults, deflecting and projecting and defending and all these things, is having those qualities going to create an environment that allow us to realize our true self? So I love this story. I so much love this story. So the student asks Parashara this question, and Parashara says, there's only one person who can answer this question for you. Give you a really thorough answer. So I want you to go to his ashram and go visit him and ask him this question. And so he tells him, the saint Ananta, he lives in the town of Holy Tirupati. Go to him and he will answer your question. So Tirupati was more than 400 miles from Rangam, which was the city where Parashara was from. Also, Parashara was a disciple of Ramanuja, also referenced in episode number 5. So if you want to just understand the history of this sort of succession, you can go do that. So, and in those days, there weren't any cars, or you can call an Uber or catch a flight. It's 400 miles away. And so, this disciple had to go on a journey and trek through crazy terrain. He had to cross rivers, pass through snake and tiger infested forest. I'm reading directly out of the book. And climbed 7 mountains before he finally reached the sage Ananta's mountain hermitage. Ananta greeted him warmly and served the guest dinner, and then showed him to a simple but comfortable room. And so the next day, right, he didn't even ask this question right away. He just settles the disciple in. The disciple doesn't ask the question. He doesn't get a chance to. But then the next day, the disciple says, hey, Ananta, my guru sent me, right? My guru Parashara, he sent me here and he told me to come here and ask you a question. What qualities do I need before I'm able to realize who I am? And Ananta took a moment to reply to him, and he said, let me think about it and I'll answer you later. So 6 months pass without Ananta addressing the question. But the disciple is just waiting patiently, living there the whole time. And he just busied himself with menial service, right, throughout the hermitage, probably cleaning and cooking and just doing everyday tasks around the hermitage, or ashram as we may call them these days, right? And he did meditation practices, he attended classes, he was just fully involved with the ashram life while he is waiting for the answer to this question. How many of us wait 6 months? And not just wait, but like keep ourselves busy patiently and humbly while we're waiting for a question that we're really yearning an answer to. Probably very few of us, myself included. I get wrapped up in like anxiety and torment because I'm just like, I want to know, and I don't have the answers, and I want them right now. And this story just teaches me to be patient and to what qualities to embody while I'm waiting for those answers to come as well. So let me continue on. So one day there's this big festival at the Hermitage, and thousands and thousands and thousands of people are coming to attend this big festival. And the disciple volunteered, right, to help serve the feast to all the pilgrims who were coming through for this big holy festival. And at some point, he took a break and he sat down, right? He sat down with his own plate to eat. So if you understand temple life, well, if you don't understand temple life, let me just explain a little bit of the culture there. So I spent many years hanging out at temples and being a part of that culture when they have festivals and big events and things, and people come and you're doing seva, right? You're doing service. You're there to just do service. And so you can go the whole day without eating because you wait till everybody is fully served. And when everybody is served and satiated, then you get to sit down and eat your food and then clean up after everybody. So it's a part of seva. It's a part of this aspect of bhakti yoga that teaches us to humble ourselves and put others first, even if it puts us in an uncomfortable place. We do it in the mood of service, and there's a lot of humility that grows out of that, and a lot of patience and acceptance and surrender that grows out of that. So the the devotee, this disciple, he's volunteering, and it's just the middle of the festival, and he's feeling a little tired, so he wants to sit down and eat. And as soon as he sits down, right, with his own plate, Ananta, right, the guru in charge of this particular hermitage, says, "Hey, don't eat just yet. First, please serve the next group of pilgrims." The disciple just followed Ananta's instructions. He didn't protest it. He didn't say, yeah, after I eat this food. Nothing. He did it. He followed Ananta's instructions. Later again, he sits down to his own plate. But again, Ananta stopped him. "You can eat later," he said. "There's another group arriving." So the disciple served the third group and the fourth group and the fifth. And then late that night, after it was clear everyone else had eaten and the festival was empty, Parashara's disciple finally sat down to eat. And Ananta approaches him now, and he says to him, "I believe you have a question for me." Oh, brimming with eagerness, the disciple jumped up and asked, "What qualities should I develop so I can realize who I am?" And gently smiling, Ananta replies, "One should be like salt, like chicken, like a crane, and like you. I have nothing else to say." And then he walked away. What? If I was this disciple, I'd be like, you gotta be kidding me. What kind of cryptic answer is that? I waited 6 months for this. I don't understand any of that. So the disciple naturally was bewildered. And he says, "I waited 6 months for this?" Confused, he offered his respects to Ananta, packed his belongings, and set out on the long trek back to Sri Rangam to go see his disciple Parashara. 7 mountains and 400 miles later, he arrived home. "So," Parashara says, "did you get an answer to your question?" "Yes," his disciple said, "but I didn't understand it." Parashara says, "Tell me." So the disciple explained the various trials that he had gone through during his time in the hermitage, and concluded with the cryptic answer to his question. And on hearing Ananta's response, Parashara clapped his hands with delight. And he said, "What a perfectly comprehensive, realized answer." "What?" cried the disciple. What do salt, chickens, and cranes have to do with anything? Listen carefully, Parashara said, and I will explain Ananta's fathomless wisdom to you. The amount, okay, so this is the part I really want you to listen to. This is where the gems are, okay? The amount of salt in a dish must be just right. If there is too much or too little, the dish will not be satisfying. Like salt, one on the spiritual path must find balance. The Bhagavad Gita teaches that those who aspire to a holy life should not eat too much nor too little, nor should they sleep too much or too little. They should give proper time to work, recreation, and their spiritual practices. It is especially important that they are balanced when dealing with challenges or complicated issues, avoiding extremes, just as one needs just the right amount of salt for a dish to taste good. You asked Ananta what qualities you need to realize yourself. Another quality of salt is that it remains hidden, even though it adds flavor to a dish. This is the one that really struck me. People praise a dish by appreciating the quality of its grains or vegetables or spices, but no one says, the salt in this dish was just fabulous. Like salt, true yogis serve without wanting recognition or praise. They are happy to give credit to others and interested simply in doing their best to give pleasure to the divine and benefit of others. Yet another quality of salt is that it relinquishes its sense of separateness and melds with the other ingredients. Like salt, we aspire to relinquish whatever egoism separates us from a loving relationship with the Supreme and others. By becoming absorbed in our identity as soul, we can integrate ourselves fully as eternal loving servants of the Supreme. A chicken, Parashara continued, will select nourishing seeds from a pile of trash and leave the worthless items behind. Like the chicken, a true yogi will find the good in others and disregard the rest. We should be eager to see others' good qualities and not dwell on their faults. If we're compelled by circumstances to address someone's faults, we should do it only to benefit that person or others who may be affected by them. If we fill our mind with the apparent shortcomings of those around us, we will become polluted. Focusing on their good qualities, however, is enriching. So some of this is the story, and some of this is Radhanath Swami interjecting his wisdom here. So those words are from Radhanath Swami specifically. So Parashara says, through this analogy, we also learn to seek constructive opportunities in every situation and not complain about the problems. Like chickens don't complain like, oh my God, I got to go through all this garbage to find the nutritious seeds that are in here. They just do it. Right? And hence they get that nutrition and they don't get stuck in that place of just being overwhelmed by all the garbage. If you look for reasons to complain, you'll see them everywhere. Similarly, if you search for opportunities to do good, you'll see them in abundance. Like the chicken, we should seek the essence of our spirituality and its practices and focus on their true goal, leaving aside the unnecessary distractions of sectarianism. In this way, we can appreciate the essence not only of our own path, but of other paths as well. I love this. Radhanath Swami, thank you so much. So then Parashara says, the crane. The crane stands patiently on one leg and looks into the water. It lets the small fish pass while it waits for a big fish. When a big fish comes, the crane feasts. This teaches us the values of patience and remaining focused on what matters. It takes patience and a willingness to let small stuff pass if we want to reach our goals. It's easy to get lost in the superficial, but yogis go deeper. Like the crane, they focus on bigger issues and release smaller ones. The reward? They can feast on the truth and don't take the world's gossip and propaganda seriously. As for Ananta's inclusion of you in the answer, a true seeker of the self is like you. In your eagerness for truth, you endured much difficulty. That enthusiasm is essential for progress. You waited for 6 months without complaint before Ananta answered your question. You selflessly served thousands of pilgrims before you served yourself without objection. Your willingness to endure difficulties in service to others is the nature of a true seeker. Ananta is so kind, Parashara said, shaking his head in appreciation. He could have explained all these things to you the day that you arrived, and I'll tell you why he didn't. The heart is like a field, and wisdom a seed. A seed will grow only in a field that has been properly tilled and fertilized. We till the field of the heart through humility, gratitude, and service to others, remaining eager to learn despite obstacles. And love grows alongside wisdom when we cultivate these qualities. Spiritual knowledge is the most valuable gift, Parashara said. It's not cheap, and so we should wholeheartedly persevere in our pursuit of it, while having the patience to wait as long as it takes to achieve it. The teacher and disciple sat in silence while the wind rustled the leaves of the coconut palms. Then Parashara smiled. Ananta could have explained all this to you instead of giving you a cryptic answer. But he is an old friend of mine, and I think he wanted to share these priceless lessons with me as well. When our eyes are opened by the words of the wise, we see lessons in even the most common of things, chickens and salt. This is like my absolute favorite story in this particular book by Radhanath Swami. There's just so much wisdom in such a simple story, right? So how can we be like salt today? Not salty, but how can we be like salt? How can we, relinquish our essence to others, and in that process not want to stand out, but to just merge into the process and the experience without wanting credit. That's a hard one. And we may be able to do it in some easy places, and as we progress, we get different areas of our life, different levels of that challenge, so that we can just go deeper and deeper into those practices. The one with the chickens, super good, right? Like a big part of bhakti yoga is to not be a fault finder, which is a difficult thing to do. We're all so conditioned to just like see the negative, and our brains are wired to pick up negativity more than the positive. It's scientifically been proven. And so to work extra hard at making an effort to see the good in things, to see the good in people, to see the good in the challenges, to see the blessings and the lessons that we're getting. Like really, it just takes changing our mindset, and that just takes practice. It just comes with time and awareness, self-awareness, right? And so the fact that it comes with time rolls into the crane, and being patient, and being willing to just stand on one leg and be balanced until we get to that big fish, whatever that is for us. So I hope that you found this story fun and insightful and inspiring, and that it inspires you today to just take an opportunity to observe your behavior and your qualities throughout the day, and just take stock, like, maybe I could have brought some of that salt medicine in here, or that crane medicine, or that chicken medicine, right? And let's not forget to be eager. Just continue to be eager, even when your path seems difficult. It doesn't mean that we purposely put ourselves through the ringer. Life already does that. So stay in that mode of willingness to persevere, right? You really will benefit from this mood if you don't give up on the things that you are really, really desiring to understand about yourself. All right, my friends, have a beautiful, beautiful, blessed day. Until I see you next time, namaste.